Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 98 of the All Dolphins podcast. The clock is about, or the odometer is about to reset to zero for this episode, number 98. Sorry, OG Highway. It's not going to be Matt Roth, second round pick from Iowa in 2005. Even though it'd have been valid. Instead, I'm going to go with Jared Odrick, first round pick in 2010. Really one of the most interesting people the Dolphins have drafted. Dolphins got him. They had originally the 12th overall pick in 2010. They traded down to 28 in a deal with the San Diego Chargers, where they got a second round pick, a linebacker by the name of Tim Dobbins. And with that second round pick, they wound up taking Koa Misi, took Jared Odrick at 28, and the Chargers with pick number 12 took running back Ryan Matthews.
Funny enough, or maybe not funny enough, I know Jared Odrick from my I Am Athlete days. He was also co-host on I Am Athlete, did a couple of episodes with him. Jared is producing a documentary called Am I Crazy, which basically gets into his battle with what he feels is CTE and the effects of trench play in football. It's very artistic, left field, but certainly something that will challenge you in terms of what you think you know about NFL players and the aftermath of playing in the league.
Any idea when it's coming out?
He has a trailer up on YouTube now. I mean, I'm sure it's not finished, but he's going through all kinds of neurological tests and, things discussing why he chose to play that game. And it seems like he's going through a lot of regret, as he's not the first or the only person that I've known that's dealt with that, just from long-term effects of football. And if you keep this in mind when you're a trench player, one of my favorite questions is to ask a trench player, and I believe I asked Ron Armstead this earlier this season, like, when does your body feel like it hasn't been through a car crash? And they usually say probably about Wednesday, Thursday after a Sunday game. And all the stuff that they have to go through just to get themselves ready. And this is usually trench players, maybe sometimes linebackers, because those guys are head-on collision players. But yeah, it's a very brutal physical game in the trenches. And Jared Odrick, it's called the trailer's Am I Crazy? Just look it up and you'll see Jared walking through. It's very artistically done.
No, I mean, he was one of those guys like in the Friday afternoon, quote unquote, shoot the breeze sessions with players where you kind of done all your feature work for the week. He was always like a great guy to talk to because very sharp, very like great perspective on a lot of different things. And the other point you mentioned about the brutality of the sport is like, back in the day, reporters used to be allowed on the field for the final 6 minutes of the game. And first time I was down there, I was blown away by like how crazy fast and big in the collisions. Oh my Lord. Anywho, it's a nice segue into the main portion of today's show, which is injury report.
Yeah.
Starting off, I guess, with Devon Achane, not surprisingly being placed on injured reserve.
Yeah, I am a little surprised that he was. After I saw him walking in the locker room or limping in the locker room, then I wasn't surprised anymore. If you keep in mind that the Dolphins only have 8 spots to designate guys for return, and they're pretty much accounted for all but 2 so far. That means everybody's got to stay healthy from this point out. Obviously, you got to. You go ahead.
May I interject? First of all, it's 3 because you've included Nick Needham, who doesn't count in that list because it's PUP.
See, but then you could also throw River Craycraft in there if he's coming back.
Oh, correct. Oh no, he's been designated to return. You're sorry. Never mind the other point I was going to make. But
he hasn't been designated to return. Ooh. I don't think you don't have to designate a guy to return until they begin practicing. But also,
no, correct.
When they begin practicing, they count as the designated to return.
Correct, and that's where I was messing up, and I stopped myself from being even more wrong in saying it. But that would be so far. It's Robert Jones, Jeff Wilson Jr., Teron Armstead's going to be another one. Achane's going to be another one. Jalen Ramsey's going to be another one. That's 5. So they have 3 left.
River Craycraft.
could be one, and then that's
Yes.
2 more. But they
Yes.
get more judicious
Mm-hmm.
down the line.
Yes. Now, I don't think that that's going to be a factor when you get to November, because ultimately, if you're in November, it's just a month. So why even bother putting them on IR? But yeah, you basically have a month where you've got 2 spots to use for the rest of the season, and you're probably going to want to preserve one just in case. But at this rate, here's my thing. Are the Dolphins healthy, or they're getting banged up? Those are your 2 answers you get to choose.
Yeah. No, they got a lot of nicks. But the thing is, the big contrast to be made is that they've had a lot of guys, prominent players who've had stuff, but they've been lucky in the sense of not having anybody out for the year who's a major frontline player.
Yeah.
Like the Bills with Milano and Daquan Jones and Trey Davis-White, like the Patriots defense with Matthew Judon and Christian Gonzalez, like the Aaron Rodgers, obviously, and now Vera Tucker. So in that sense, they've done well.
Yeah. Because I one of my major concerns, and this from the beginning, was the depth of the roster. Now, they have withstood just about everything so far from a depth standpoint. And even when they have areas of injury, like running back and wide receiver, it just so happens to be one of their deepest units. And even, I can't really say outside linebacker, because while they've had issues at outside linebacker, Andrew Van Ginkel is a godsend for this team, just because of how he's allowed you to withstand and overcome some of those injuries. But
correct, he's almost made Jalen Phillips' absence a non-issue.
Pretty much. But I will say this: the Dolphins are very sports science conscious.
Yes, very much so.
Very reliant on the GPS trackers to track players' miles per hour during games and practices. And for instance, today we got Xavier Howard with not injury, but a rest day. We've got who else got a not injury but a rest? Tyreek and Mostert. Mostert doesn't want to not practice, because we saw him out there in the practice, but obviously they basically said, no, you stay out of the teamwork. And Tyreek does what he wants to do. So
kind of, sort of, right?
Yeah. And it's, hey, as long as you're on track for 2,000 yards, brother, you can do it. But as Tyreek says, I saw with my own eyes Tyreek limping after the game. Now, if you ask Tyreek if he's injured, he'll tell you cheetahs don't get hurt.
Yeah, you don't get hurt. Yeah, no.
Yeah, cheetahs don't get hurt. So, maybe when you run fast and you run 22 miles per hour, you limp afterwards. I don't know.
Yeah, and he was also off the field for that entire drive at the end of the first half. You're gonna tell me if he's right, he doesn't want to be in there? Come on now.
No. Tyreek generally, and this is something that I've learned about him, Tyreek generally leaves early to go get an IV so he can be ready for the halftime.
Does he leave when the Dolphins are mounting a drive that can produce points before the half?
He didn't leave. He was still on the sidelines.
Correct. That's my point. And if he was completely right, you don't think he'd be like, get the cheetah in there?
I've never heard Tyreek refer to him. Yeah, he has referred to himself.
All the time. What are you talking about?
I was giving him the benefit of the doubt.
Can I say something else about the Achane injury?
Uh-huh.
And to me, the reason why I'm not surprised in the least, there was like a clip on social media on X that shows to me pretty clearly where he would have gotten injured, and it's Leonard Williams basically tackling him high and then dropping down with his entire body weight and bending his right leg inward. And I've heard the question asked, oh my God, didn't I send you that clip? I'll send you that clip again. Okay. And Mike McDaniel has been asked a couple of times the question of when did he get hurt? And I'm like, it's completely obvious that's when he got hurt. And it's a type of like backward bend where if you tell me like MCL sprain, yeah, that would completely make sense. So that's why, and now it's 4 games plus the bye. So it's 5 full weeks off. To me, it makes perfect sense to go put him on IR.
I did not, because I saw him after the game and he was walking and he looked fine. But the way that I saw him limping today, holding a knee brace, walking through the locker room with his teammates telling him, "Hey, bro, stop limping. Like the media's in here." I realize it's way more serious than I previously thought. Or the Dolphins were letting on. Now, there were no surgery.
Or were there?
No, I looked. Trust me, I'm a professional. I know these
Oh,
things.
got it.
Like I
You
looked.
slept at the
There's
Holiday Inn last night or something, right?
yeah, there's certain little indicators that you have when your knee has been gone into and scoped, and he did not have that. I looked at both knees. He was wearing shorts, so I clearly looked at both knees.
Yeah, and he wouldn't have been in the locker room if he had surgery, because the surgery would have taken place yesterday. But it was interesting how Mike McDaniel danced around that question when he was asked today.
Oh yeah, he totally tap danced around it. And
no.
but I understand, because players do not want you to know when they have surgery, because every time you have surgery, your price goes down.
Then in that case, what I would prefer McDaniel do, instead of dancing around it, is say, listen, guys, we will not be discussing whether players had surgeries or not. You know. But and then the other point too about players in the locker room being injured, usually you don't see them in the locker room with a minor to mid-minor injury immediately after being injured. Usually when you see guys in the locker room after being injured like that, it's because they've had something very serious and they're done and they don't care. Usually those guys tend to hide out. Either they're getting treatment or they just don't want to necessarily be seen. So now Achane's off the active roster. There are two guys on the active roster who did not practice Wednesday because of injuries: Connor Williams and Alec Ingold.
The fact that Ingold was spotted in a boot Monday, not good. Obviously, it's a foot injury. Foot is never good because it usually gets worse before it gets better. Just from my professional opinion, I did stay at a Holiday Inn when we were in Houston. So, hey.
That's true.
And very good breakfasts, by the way. This is a Holiday Inn endorsement here. I'm a Marriott person, but quite pleasantly surprised by Holiday Inn. But really, what has me really concerned, and I hope it's more of a rest day. Does Connor Williams really need to practice more than once a week to play on Sundays?
Yeah.
I would say no. But if he cannot go because, let's say, we're re-aggravating the groin by continuing to play him, that could be problematic. And then it gets me to a point where I'm uncomfortable, which is where Liam Eichenberg is in the starting lineup. And I don't necessarily want to see that again.
Except for me, it won't make a difference against Carolina. So I in a sick, twisted kind of way, they're not losing to Carolina. Whether Liam Eichenberg plays center, they could have Liam Eichenberg, Lester Cotton, Keon Smith start on the offensive line. They're not losing against Carolina. I'm sorry, I refuse to see any scenario where that happens. We had, a good buddy Skylar Callahan on yesterday. Basically, he's not even buying the idea that there's any chance Carolina wins this game. So in a sick, twisted kind of way,
anybody can get anybody on any given Sunday.
Sure, absolutely. But in a sick, twisted kind of way, I kind of almost hope keep Connor out another game, get him completely right. Hopefully the second start helps Liam progress even more as a center, becomes maybe more dependable as a backup, and then you get Connor back for the next week, which is, oh, by the way, I know you don't look at the schedule, but is the Eagles.
See, I have O-line irritable bowel syndrome, and you just made it act up.
That's fine. That's a good one right there.
You just made it act up just a little bit.
OLIBS, that's good.
Yeah. You might be right, but I don't like what you said. If that makes sense to you.
Oh, I know. Trust me, I know exactly where your thinking is.
It makes me very uncomfortable, but I do acknowledge the fact that you might be right. And if we're doing a Mike McDaniels and thinking big picture, Mike McDaniels needs Connor Williams at his best during the Philadelphia Eagles and can probably make do without him against the 0-5 Carolina Panthers, even though I'm totally not on board with the, they're a layup. No, I'm sorry. Anybody can get anybody on any given Sunday in the NFL.
They're more than they're a borderline slam dunk. I mean, that's a bad. By the way, I'm going to throw out the stat again because now it's updated. Now it's been 5 times since 2020. Dolphins have been double-digit favorites. They're 5-0, and they're favored by 14 points this week.
Damn, biggest line of the week.
I believe it is actually. Matches the line against Houston last year of 14 points, and they won 30-15 in a game that was a blowout at halftime. It got close. Houston came back and made it close a little bit. One thing about Alec Ingold, logically, you see a guy in a walking boot on Monday, you're thinking not playing. Then again, you hear about a guy getting surgery for a broken thumb on Monday. You're not thinking he's playing the following Sunday, and yet Ingold did that last year. So I don't think I'd put anything past the dude.
Yeah, the way that they've had some of the younger players like Julian Hill and your boy Chris Brooks step up in his role, I definitely could see them try to make do with him resting for a week. If you follow the Mike McDaniel, we're going to be cautious with our injuries approach. So this is something that we will continue to monitor throughout the week. I don't know where it's going to go. If Connor practices tomorrow, false alarm, we're all good. We're just going to get our 1 day rest. And it's a good strategy, because I was asking about the strategy for Xavier Howard last year, and I found it with his 2 growing injuries. And I found it very interesting that he never got a rest day. And I was just like, yeah, we looked at the injury report, and I was just like, man, that says something. A player of Xavier's caliber, maybe Mike Daniel learned from that situation. Growings don't usually get better. They get worse. So
unless you sit, yeah.
So this is something that the Dolphins definitely realize that they've got to be cautious with. Just as important as Teron Armstead is to the offensive line, I think Connor Williams is to the offensive line. He is the second most important offensive lineman, and we kind of saw what happened when he wasn't in there, and I definitely don't want to see that again.
But here's the bright side. If Liam does play, logic might suggest that there's only one way to go.
You hope. You never know.
One hope. Yeah, I think his pass blocking grade was from PFF, which is again not necessarily the end all be all, but from what I understand, I think it was brutal. Anyway, Jalen Phillips is becoming a weird one to me. Like,
I think so.
You don't think so?
Just talking to him last week, and we addressed this on the podcast. When he sort of estimated that he was 70%, I said to myself, yeah, Mike McDaniel isn't playing 70%. And then he also connected the fact that he thinks the back injury is connected to the torso injury. So it's all connected. And the last thing you want to do is re-aggravate or worsen the injury. Especially when you've got a guy like Andrew Van Ginkel who's playing well. Even Emmanuel Ogbah is improving. Saw him on some running downs. Was very pleased with the work that he did. I think you've got a decent 3-man rotation there at that outside linebacker spot. I even think you could put Christian Wilkins out there. And yeah, he's not going to be dropping back in coverage well, but I think Christian Wilkins has been very productive playing that left defensive end. I think that was where he sort of had his best season last year when he replaced Ogbah there. So I'd like to see him out there as well. But I think Jalen Phillips is probably a situation where, and this is the first time I've ever seen so many rib and torso injuries. So maybe this is a situation where you give somebody a full month to get past it.
Yeah, I was more like kind of a little bit confounded is the right word by Mike McDaniel's comments of, and I don't have him in front of me, but he was kind of suggesting that, yeah, they're still gathering information and dealing with a weird thing. I don't know.
When was this, today?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I,
The last question was about Jalen Phillips and Savon Ahmed, actually.
Yeah.
And the
Savannah,
Savon Ahmed one was weird because I don't know, I wasn't aware that Savon Ahmed had, I mean, he played Sunday and like his groin injury.
no, he
was
didn't.
an
He was
issue.
inactive Sunday. But he's still coming back from the groin
Oh,
injury. But
I'm sorry. You're right.
talk to him today. He says he's fine. He says he's good to go. This is obviously a great opportunity for him to sort of step back into the forefront, because we also don't know where Jeff Wilson is in his road back. He practiced today. He was in the locker room. Unfortunately, there are rules that we have to abide by, and I have to abide by the rules more than others because I am clearly suspect number one for breaking rules.
You're a rule breaker. That's your history.
I'm a line stepper. I'm not a rule breaker. I will walk to the line.
Yeah. And then take your toe and go across the line.
Listen, but Jeff Wilson's been there. He's fine. He looks like he's ready to go. Looks like, hand injury. Obviously, Mike McDaniel says what they show me in practice will dictate whether or not they're ready or whether or not they play. I personally would like to see Devon Achane get that opportunity that Devon Achane, did I say it right? Yes, yeah. I'm learning. That Devon Achane got, because that was something that he had earned before he had suffered the injury. It wasn't a we're gonna grandfather this guy into the number 2 role, even though we've got this young third down back. No, it was something that he took and he earned and had earned since OTAs and training camp and the exhibition season. And then you get an injury, and then young rookie comes in and absolutely tears up the league.
Young buck.
Yeah, and then you become the forgotten man. So
no, and I want to see Ahmed used on the same kind of plays that they've been using with Achane. I want to see that end around after they fake it going the other way and get him out in space like this. I put up a story on alldolphins.com today that you can check out for free, where I dug up some of the stats beyond the ones that everybody knows about, the most yards after 5 games, 2 leading the NFL in passer rating, passing yard. No, sorry, second passer rating, but passing yards and yards per completion. And the one
third down efficiency.
They're not first and third down efficiency. They're like
two is number 1 in third down efficiency.
I meant as a team. I'm not going to give away everything, but a couple of ones that are very cool that I thought. Devon Achane, this one blew me away. Devon Achane's average yards before contact per carry is 7.1.
Mm-hmm.
That is sick.
And when I tell people that it's the line, and it's
the line and the play call also that creates all that space. And I don't think it's just a line, but
it's not just the line, but it's everything. It's a collection of everything, and it's a speed. But yeah, when you're 7 yards downfield and literally have one guy to make miss, yeah, you're gonna have success.
Yeah.
And yeah, the creativity, the creativity, the movement from the offensive linemen. I mean, they are 20 yards downfield at 5 plays a game, and that's just crazy and ridiculous. Even Liam, one time, I think it was Buffalo game, just 20, 30 yards downfield. Liam. So what did I say?
You had to do that to the guy.
Did I tell a lie?
No, that's the way you say it. Lee.
Yeah. But speaking of blocking, there is a new big physical monster in the Dolphins offense. Chase Claypool, and I've seen big receivers. We've had a ton of them here in Miami, but I would say physically he'd probably compare to Brandon Marshall. Just in terms of 6'4", 240 pounds. I don't know if he could still. I watched him run his routes. He's moving. So I don't know if he's 4.42 fast. But we talked to him today. Before I get into what he said, I was very intrigued by the fact that Wes Welker spent all of stretching period going over plays with Chase, showing him stances, showing him blocks during the stretching period. It's like he was taking up every possible moment and opportunity to coach this young man up, because I think he's going to get plenty of opportunity to be thrown in there right away. He probably might be able to learn 10 plays, and they want to see what he can do, whether or not he can help them. And certainly when you are a player with that size, that level of physicality, I know there's some film out there of him doing some disastrous blocking with
Gasicki like, right?
yeah, with the Chicago Bears. I haven't seen it yet. I'm very curious to see it.
It's
I know
bad.
how Hal puts them up, and it was, and that could all be propaganda. That could all
What do you mean
be
propaganda? It's on film. I mean, you can't hide the. For me, propaganda. Well, it may have been that he checked out. That would be one thing. But on
yeah. I mean,
propaganda, I mean,
yeah. Uh I remember, in this offense, you're not playing if you're not blocking.
correct.
And now that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to apply to every offense. And I remember once checking the Miami Dolphins receiver and being like, yo, you're not blocking. And that receiver told me, who shall remain nameless, he's like, bro, I'm not paid to block, and blockings are my rest periods. Running plays are my rest periods. You either want me to score touchdowns or you want me to block.
Man, I can.
You could suspect who it is. Yeah. And hey,
and of course, everybody right now is going to be like, "Who are they talking about? Who are they talking about?"
I trust me, I got enough issues. I'm not trying to create any more issues. So I shall, that receiver shall remain nameless. But he had a point. He didn't get paid to block. And
you paid to play wide receiver, and that sometimes comes with the territory. But okay.
Yeah, he wasn't paid to block.
Okay.
And hey, I'm not judging you. But we know in this offense, if Tyreek Hill got a block, everybody got a block. So it'll be interesting to see where Chase Claypool is. As what now, the biggest thing is whether or not he can pick up the offense again. Mike McDaniel says, "Hey, bro, you gotta learn how to speak Spanish. Faster you learn, the faster you play."
And they're going to do the Donde está el baño package for him.
Donde está baño? What is baño? Bath?
Where's the bathroom in Spanish? It's a very basic Donde está el baño package.
Yeah. I don't. We'll see. I think he's going to have to help the team in other areas, special teams, blocking, H-back. I think you could teach him some hell, his size. You could teach him some Alec Ingold packages, and he's like twice the size of Alec Ingold.
Yeah, no,
now whether or not he has the toughness to make it work, we'll see. But ultimately, he was on his best behavior today. New guy, doesn't know anybody, trying to figure out South Florida. He's on the Bradley Chubb package, where basically he's trying to figure out his way to his short-term rental.
This might be where Durham Smythe becomes a good asset for him, since they played together at Notre Dame. I did notice him during the game a couple of times on Sunday. He was doing some Giants players wound up near the sideline, and he was not shy about in the trash talking department. I was like, holy moly. Yeah. That kind of struck me as being interesting. But no, I mean, he's a big dude.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue that a lot of guys have, that I've learned, is when you've had success early in your career and you go be part of losing organizations, or you go through some struggles, sometimes losing wears on people. And was just talking to another person on the roster who was kind of can relate to where Chase Claypool had been, and he's like, yeah, man, losing wears on you, and not everybody is built for it, especially when you're a competitor. So coming from an organization like the Pittsburgh Steelers, where you'd had success basically early in your career, and then you get traded to Chicago, and and you lose 15 straight. Was that what it was?
I think it was 14, and then he's inactive, and then they win.
Yeah, obviously he's the problem. So,
yeah, pretty clearly.
But I'm curious, how many plays do is there a need? Probably. Do you play him over a Cedric Wilson or a Robbie Chosen? I don't know. Yes, you say yes. Why do you say yes?
Well, for one thing, as you mentioned, even though Dolphins are number one in the NFL in red zone percentage, red zone touchdown percentage, they're in the 20s when in goal to go situations. And I think
Thank you for pointing that out.
That's where Claypool.
Because I said on Twitter, like, the red zone's an area that people that this team can improve on, and people are, well, they're number one, they're 70%, and I was like, damn, I should have probably said goal to go.
Yeah, it's goal to go.
And then people will be like, well, what's goal to go? And then I gotta explain it to you people.
Okay.
It's true.
I mean, then the kind of isn't it kind of in the term goal to go?
Then they'll be like, what's the yardage goal to go? And then, I don't feel like explaining things to people right now.
It's the 10-yard line in. Okay. Oh, see, I took care of it. Oh, that wasn't so tough. So no, that's where to me, he's an improvement, or I didn't want to say an improvement, but he gives you something that Robbie Chosen doesn't.
He can help you. But we haven't seen Robbie Chosen, not to say that he should, or even Cedric Wilson, not to say that you should. We haven't seen either of those guys be put in those situations to try to make those plays.
Good point. That's a very good point.
But neither of them are the size of Chase Claypool, though.
Well, Cedric's like 6'3". I don't know that he's ever been known for as a high pointing jump ball winning kind of receiver, though. I think Claypool, look at it, he's 6'3".
6'2".
He's 6'2", like I said, he's a good 6'2".
Yeah,
but that's all enough to be able to do the jump ball.
I would struggle to even give him 6'2". He's like a smaller end 6'2". Yeah. I don't see Cedric as any different than size-wise than Jalen Waddle. Let me look at Jalen Waddle.
Waddle's not 6'2". Waddle's not 6'2".
Yeah, Waddle is 5'10", which.
Wait a second. What do they list Tyreek as?
5'10". Yeah, that ain't true.
He said on Twitter last week that he was like 5'11" something. I was like, yeah, in what universe are you 5'11"? I mean, no offense.
Oh yeah. Today, Tyreek basically told us he's tired of talking about being fast. Let's talk about the opponents.
Did he maintain a straight face the whole way?
No, he was serious. He was annoyed. Like, he doesn't like the fact that he has to continue to prove that he's the fastest man in the league.
No,
it gets annoying.
Yeah, it's a closed topic as far as he's concerned. He's the fastest, and that's it.
Hey, he just put up the fastest time in the NFL. What more do you want him to do?
That's fine. So it doesn't mean somebody else is not going to come over and top it. Now,
conversation over.
The next conversation needs to be about all the fines he's accumulating for not wearing socks or some other uniform violation. And yes, the NFL takes that stuff very seriously. Randall Hill, former Dolphin first-round pick, used to be the fashion sergeant and NFL uniform sergeant or something.
And they do give the players a warning before they actually go take the field for the game. So when you consciously choose to violate the wardrobe, you consciously choose to violate the wardrobe.
Yeah, and I think in Tyreek's case, it's like, I'll deal with it.
Oh no, I hate when guys give away money like that. I could use some free money.
Can't we all? Anything else stand out today? News of the day. Trying to think here.
Xavier got a rest day, which is interesting. So
like 3 weeks in a row, I think they've done that. So. Yeah. I can look at it.
My question is, when he gets a rest day, does that mean Cam Smith gets an elevation day?
One would hope. I mean, why is like this guy needs to get in the lineup already? It's like, seriously. I mean, did we see a complete mirage in training camp that his play has like completely?
Touché. Excellent point. And I want you to ask that question to Vic Fangio.
But he's asked every single week about Cam Smith. I got to figure out a way to phrase it, because he's been asked like how close is he to getting in the lineup? What does he need to show you?
Practice better.
Correct, and then you're going to get the same answer time and time again.
You got to earn your stripes with this Vic Fangio guy. Nothing. Hey,
Well, Eli Apple lost his stripes and then regained his stripes apparently, because now he's back.
Maybe it's practice-based performance.
No, correct. Um,
Who am I? I don't have no right to question Vic Fangio.
and yet you do. Yeah, and yet you do all the time. That's funny.
It is kind of in my job description. That doesn't mean I have a right to do it.
That's funny. I'm gonna do it anyway. Doesn't mean I have the right to.
Yeah.
See how I'm already proven wrong. Xavier did not get a vet rest day last week.
Well, you've been off today. Like
Yeah.
usually you're correcting me like 3-4 times a day.
I am still in recovery mode, so I'm gonna attribute that mistake to that. It's the only.
I'm like, damn, how many times is Poupart gonna be wrong today? This is unlike him.
Oh, thought I was wrong once. It turns out I was mistaken. I'm sorry. What? Man, he did not show up. Something's amiss here.
Nah, it's okay.
Oh no, I got it. No, because I'm looking at the wrong. I'm looking at the wrong one here. We're gonna give it up. Yeah, I might be going crazy.
Not worth our time. We gotta close.
No, we gotta go. Okay, so that's gonna wrap it up. Tomorrow, coordinator day. Those are always
In
good.
the comment section, tell us what you want to know from the coordinators. We'll get to it.
Absolutely.
We
Don't
do read
ask for-
the comments, by the way.
Don't ask for state secrets because they're not gonna tell us.
No.
So
We thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, click the thumbs up button. Tell a friend. You can find our work on alldolphins.com. Everything on there is for free. I wrote a column about Tua and how he's taken off the Pampers. It's big boy time. So
leave it at that. Leave it at that. That's a great tease right there. Leave it at
You
that.
could go read that. And you can find us on wherever you find your podcasting shows at Fans First Network under Miami Dolphins Insiders.
So until we do this again tomorrow, thanks for watching, everyone.
See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.